Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel, and I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of March 7th through the 13th. And before I get into that, just because I'm starting to realize that when I give all the information at the end of the blog, that a lot of you haven't made it to the end of the blog, and just starting to realize that with some of my interactions with you. So first thing I want to let you all know is I've been using Instagram under the moniker Astrological Winds channel. Imagine that. And doing stuff sometimes during the week too, where I talk about like the astrology going on that day. It hasn't been every day, but it's usually, a couple of times a week I might go on there, and I'm trying to be more consistent about it. So that's out there. So if you have an Instagram account, just look up Astrological Winds channel and become a follower. And it's just like, just a little text post that I put. It's usually like, a few sentences. So it'll literally take you less than a minute to read it if you're interested in going on. And sometimes it focuses too on the moon aspects going on that day, because I don't do the moon aspects on the weekly ones. So, and then also, to get in touch with me about readings, professional readings I've been doing for over 20 years, or classes, or any other event or anything, my email is matthuey823@gmail.com. One more time, matthuey@gmail.com. And of course, if you're a follower on Instagram or on YouTube, you can always get me through the comments section too. I'll definitely respond to it. So, some of you asking about interaction and, asking about other things, and I'm like, okay, I mention this stuff every time at the end of the blog, and then I realize, oh, you're not getting to the end of the blog. So I just wanted to tell you that. The other thing, just from last week, I spent a little time using situation between Russia and Ukraine, driven by Putin, on the as an example, and a lot of people like that. They responded positively about that, about like helping them get an understanding of what was going on over there. So I don't like to clog the blog with political stuff usually, but it does make me think that maybe a separate political blog may be coming in the future. And I'm, not political in the sense of taking a side, just looking at it from a historical, objective lens of the energy of the astrology and how it's manifesting in the world in political ways, which obviously, I see that all the time going on. So this week, let's get into this week's astrology. There's not a real lot, which was cool because I wanted to give that a more extended intro. So this is going to be a week where like the Pisces kind of energy kind of really kicks in more. Sun's in Pisces now, but Mercury is going to go into Pisces too, and the sun is going to conjunct Neptune, which is also in Pisces. And of course, Neptune is kind of what we call either the co-ruler of Pisces. Some people call it the modern ruler of Pisces. I don't go that far. I kind of feel like more like co-rulership, or more like an affinity with Piscean energy. They're very similar. So, and so like this is going to be a week where I think we can step back a little bit from the intensity of last week. There was a lot of really intense energy last week, especially with the Mars and Venus, and really like affecting a lot of people, deep ways. A lot of like relationship stuff, a lot of self-creativity stuff, a lot of financial issues, a lot of all, our actions maybe not working the way we'd like to, trying to get more controlling of those situations and like maybe finding ourselves in power struggles, all that stuff. Last week, very intense stuff. And then, a new moon that is offering opportunity in this cycle, so that maybe we'll start to see some of that this week. And I just, so we get a chance now to kind of step back and contemplate and meditate a little bit of all that stuff and like kind of, see where, we can fit our ideals into things and like maybe try to, come up with more sensitive and more receptive, more kinder and gentler ways of like reacting to a lot of the situations. But this week, even the moon aspects this week are just so much gentler each day than they were last week. So the first thing, like I said, I mentioned was Mercury on Wednesday is going to go into Pisces. It's going to join the sun in Pisces. And traditionally, that's actually really weak. In fact, if anything, that's on a traditional level, Mercury is weaker in Pisces than any other sign. It's actually what we call in detriment and fall in Pisces. And why is that? And it's mainly because Mercury is all about the mind, mainly. It's mainly about intellect. It's very linear. It needs clarity. It doesn't like to have emotions or sensitivity involved in the decision-making process. The mind wants to be acute, logical, and sometimes, that can even come off as cool. But the reality is it wants like Mercury, because it's so much about thinking and communicating and moving around, needs precision. It needs conciseness. It needs that to act in its best way. So like when it's like in a sign like Virgo or Gemini, it really is like on the top of its game. But when it's in a sign of Pisces, where everything is kind of like nebulous and abstract and idealistic and dreamy, all that stuff, Mercury has a really difficult time functioning in the way it would like to. And once again, that's in a traditional manner too. This is the way, the Mercury energy is in a traditional way. But it is very stimulating to the mind's creative side. It can find ways of stimulating our idealism, have us kind of get out of our normal mind and get into some really abstract places where we can really be able to vision things, to be able to identify our hopes and our dreams and things like that, and come into a greater understanding of ourselves. So it can really be a creative download to the mind on that level, on and giving us a way of envisioning a better reality for ourselves, broadening what we feel like we might be able to take in, so that we can start to vision what would make our dreams come true, basically, in the future. And when you think about that in relation, in relation to the Mercury cycle, it's going to go into Aries after Pisces. So we can use a lot of the time while it's in Pisces, these next couple weeks or so, to get that broader sense and understanding and see how we can create something that in the real world and energize towards it when it goes into Aries, and be more precise about how we're going to do that. But in the meantime, just use this time to vision that kind of thing. And it really is really great too on an artistic level. I mean, we can use words when Mercury is in Pisces to for like creative purposes. So like creative writing, poetry, music with, lyrics, and, even music without lyrics, actually, because communication with Mercury in Pisces many times is not stuck on that linear way that the mind and intellect can be stuck on. It can come in from different ways that are not just words, like emotions and an emotional intuition, and then somehow being able to create that kind of feeling. And that is actually a communication that is going on then between people, or between people and other beings even. So like, storytelling and all that kind of stuff of like using words to, paint these greater strokes of creativity or art, that's like artistic energy that's downloaded into our minds. And I would think too, like another way too is that I'm thinking about it too is like Mercury is also freed maybe from, because it is that linear energy, it's freed from like the shackles of time unfolding in that way too, and like so like it can open up downloads from all different points on the space-time continuum, so to speak. So but it is, it can't, the thing about Pisces and Mercury though is it is very subjective, the thinking. Your thinking is very subjective. It's very inner, contemplative, that kind of energy, and the emotions that you're having do affect your thinking. So that's why, like, once again, the communication can be difficult, can be easily misunderstood. There's also a great sensitivity to, what other people are thinking and feeling, and that can add to confusion too if you're not clear where the source of that is coming from. So, but it does, once again, for the mind, there's a deep interest also usually in whatever our spiritual path or journey is, to want to explore that more. You can have like literally like mystical types of experiences, psychic type of communications with others. So there's a lot of sensitivity on that mental, intellectual level. So really, really using it in this way, like of this contemplative, meditative way, and getting a broader idea of what you want to do in the future with your ideals and what you believe in. And then, and then getting ready for that time when Mercury goes into the first half of the zodiac from Aries through Virgo, where we can, where we're a lot more active subjectively about what we want to push out into the world. So just a great time for visioning. And then, like I said, Sun conjunct Neptune. So here we go with astrology again, really showing us, okay, do you understand what I mean? Because like, I'm going to give you another signal that's so similar to that Mercury in Pisces too. And here we are with the Sun conjunct Neptune. So Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. Neptune moves as slowly as Pluto almost, so when it's in a sign a long time. So think about that. It's been since 2011 since Neptune's been in Pisces, and it will continue to be so until 2025 when it goes into Aries. And so Neptune and Pisces, like I said, their energy is very similar, and it's all about a lot about the spiritual journey. And when you think about what's been going on since 2011, you can see both the positive and negative manifestations in broad strokes in society of Neptune and Pisces. That being that there does seem to be, on many individuals' levels, a spiritual awakening going on in the last 10 years, where people really have like found some kind of spiritual or even artistic, or a combination of both, paths that is what is bringing them, that's appealing to their ideals, that helps them get through the harder reality of life. And at the same time, the Piscean myth is very Dionysian. So the issue that has also become with that is that people think they can adopt it as a savior complex and think that their way is the way for everybody else. And we've been in the age of Pisces for over 2,000 years now, so we can really see how like religion, and each religion being entrenched in a certain position and belief system, has caused a lot of that kind of negative Pisces manifestations: wars, violence, intolerance, things like that. That's that negative Pisces not realizing the connection of everything together, and like seeing and focusing on the separation instead, and feeling that your beliefs are so much more superior than anyone else's that you have the right to push them onto others. And we can see this in individuals, we can see this in countries, we can see this in religions, we can see this in social movements, all kinds of things in the last 10 years, where it is like a separating energy. It's the part of the Pisces where the fish are, swimming away from each other, not realizing that they're tied together. So, when the sun is into Pisces, is going to conjunct Pisces now, like a lot of that same energy is coming down into us as an individual, this week. And so, there's going to be a lot of chances to have our ideals appealed to, that like in very high ways, Neptune is all about unconditional love. It's about like accepting everyone and everything as is in its highest sense. Like, when the sun is conjunct Neptune, we become very sensitive to others, and we become sensitive to our environment, we become sensitive to our experiences, and we see like how we can forgive ourselves, and therefore then we can start to forgive others. So people will, really express in their actions and in their lives, like actions that are, basically coming from a space of more unconditional love, more acceptance, more tolerance. So literally like wanting to live up to your ideals and beliefs through your actions, is where that would thing. But we have to like remember too, like, Neptune can get easily disappointed too. Pisces can get easily disappointed too, because it's built on abstract idealism. And the hard world that's going on out there does not pander to that, and it's our jobs as individuals to try to bring the two of them closer together, and in the ways that we want to, and without becoming like, this like, pushy savior complex kind of person while we're doing so. But the issue with that is it is a battle. It is a battle within ourselves, and it's a battle in reality every day, because our ideals, always fall short in some sense when we think about the Saturnian reality. So, the danger, therefore, with the Sun Neptune energy is escapism. And, many people will turn to like any substances that will, dull their sensitivity, basically, because you're out there fighting that, and while you're being that warrior doing that, it does, make a lot of, it makes a lot of marks and within us that, ultimately, can cause enough pain that we need some kind of outlet to escape from. So that's what that Sun, Neptune, Pisces energy can do. So we have to be careful of, how far we're going to take that. And, a lot of people do it through blind faith, through getting so stuck on some ideal that they, can't get beyond that. Like even once again, what's going on in the world right now, people just, feeling like what their ideals are so important that it doesn't really matter how it's affecting the rest of the world. So you can see that, but really, it can just, Neptune is a dissolving energy, and it can dissolve boundaries between people too, and leave us exhausted too, tired out, physically and emotionally. So all that stuff together can, we need to seek out some type of escape, and as long as it's not going too far, that escape is, can be manageable. One of the best ways to do it is to just use some time this week, especially next weekend when the Sun-Neptune conjunction is exact, to find some quiet, meditative place to just take stock in, how things are going, and just take a break from the rat race physical reality of, of what you're, the Saturnian struggle every day, which obviously has its rewards, but we need to, it's not going to be rewarding if we can't bring in some of our ideals in the way we want, some of our dreams, some of our hopes, some of our wishes. So we need to find that right balance between them. So this is a week where we can really envision that stuff, and maybe take a step back from that harder reality, and if you have opportunities to do that, to find that place. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention this week is the asteroid Vesta is going into Aquarius, which is interesting too. And I mean, it really, Vesta is all about having, it's a sisterly energy. It's about having a cause that's shared in the sense of a lot of behavior that's similar and shared in certain ways. So when it goes into Aquarius, it has a lot to do with movements in society in a bigger way, and filtering down to the individual on the desire for each to have their own sovereignty or their own freedom to be the person who they really are, to honor and be that person who they're meant to be. And what's interesting about that to me is, when they study happiness and the people who are the most happy in the world, that's actually one of the top things that, the people who are the most happy in the world are consistently, is it's not so much what the ultimate, material benefit may be of being who they really want to be, but that they actually have that opportunity to be who they really want to be. So this is this really honors that, the Vesta going into Aquarius, that, that we're on a journey together, that we share together, but each person has an important individual part in that, and that their freedom and their sovereignty is important, to everyone to have that. And because that is a root of the need for all of us to have happiness, that it's one of the main ingredients to be the person who we're meant to be. But, the thing that can be negative about Vesta going into Aquarius is almost disconnecting from personal intimacy with people, though at the same time, the connection is more, okay, this is a cause together, blah, blah, blah. It's more intellectually driven, and we can have a tendency of getting negative about certain personal relationships, especially if we're feeling like there's a lot of emotion, and get callous actually with those people, which is really not what we want to do. And we can also rebel against authority figures a lot stronger than what is necessary. What is, on a personal level, what is positive about this and what to look for is connections with individuals who are basically different than you, like, come from a different perspective. Maybe you consider them alternative or odd or eccentric in some way because they're just different in their life experience than what they do. That's where we can really, get a beneficial reflection of ourselves in each other and really grow a lot, and just be exposed to new and different things through that connection with a person or persons like that. And like, once again, just don't allow your ideals in the Aquarian part to try to push that person or kind of like manipulate or get possessive or jealous about whatever it may be with that person, because that sisterly energy sometimes can get like that, All right, well, that's it for this week. I thought it was going to be shorter, but I did that 5-minute intro and kind of had time to get into it deeper on just the 2 or 3 things that were going on. So this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. It is on YouTube every week. If you have a YouTube account, just become a follower of Astrological Winds channel. Turn on your notifications. You'll know when it comes up. Also available on all kinds of podcasts. It goes out through Buzzsprout, and it's on Spotify, Apple iPad, Reveal, a whole bunch of them. There's like 15 or 20 of them picking it up, and there's more and more followers on the podcasts every week. Some of them are starting to get up to be as much as the YouTube, so that's great. It is a free service that I'm offering, so please, the best way you can pay me back is to pass the link on to somebody else. Remember, like I said in the beginning, Instagram, Astrological Winds channels on that. I post the link every week once it's up. Also, if you want to friend me on Facebook, it's a private account, but I do post the link on Facebook every week when it's up. It's Matthew with 2 T's, Lawton, Lauten. Just friend request me on Facebook. And like I said, you can always get in touch with me through comments too. My email is matthue823@gmail.com. I'm available for all kinds of professional readings. Just get in touch with me. We'll talk about prices, set you up, natal readings, your birth chart, predictive readings, which is just like this report that I do every week, except it's just for you for the next year, relationships, relocation, and astrolocality, elections, if you're looking for the best time for something, horary questions, so all kinds of services. And there are 5 beginning classes available. Just email me about them. Anyone, gets to the point where they're ready for more, I can keep that going too. Also available for lectures, events. Just get in touch, matthue823@gmail.com. All right, great week to do some visioning and, set up the positive abstraction of what you want to do next. Until next week, this is Matt Lawton signing off on the Astrological Winds channel.